Welcome to the Booze Compass, Beverage Alcohol Industry Summary for April 2026. Executive Summary. April 2026 proved to be a pivotal month for the beverage alcohol industry, marked by the dramatic collapse of merger talks between Pernod Ricard and Brown-Forman after weeks of intense negotiation. The proposed merger of equals, which would have created a spirits powerhouse valued at approximately $30 billion, fell apart amid competing interests, including a $15 billion acquisition bid from Sazerac, and irreconcilable differences over key transaction terms. Meanwhile, consolidation accelerated elsewhere in the sector, with E&J Gallo completing its $775 million acquisition of Four Roses Bourbon from Kirin Holdings, Mark Anthony Brands acquiring Finnish Long Drink, and Sapporo selling Stone Brewing to Firestone Walker and Duvel Mortgott USA. The three-tier distribution system continued its transformation as RNDC revealed plans to divest most of its business to multiple parties, with Columbia Distributing and Reyes Beverage Group emerging as key acquirers in the Pacific Northwest and beyond. Financial pressures intensified across the industry as numerous craft breweries and distilleries filed for bankruptcy protection or closed operations entirely, including Kitos Brewing, Denton County Brewing, Penn Brewery, and the Alton Distillery, reflecting broader structural challenges facing smaller producers. Anheuser-Busch doubled its U.S. manufacturing investment to $600 million through its Brewing Futures initiative, while Pernod Ricard showed early signs of recovery with modest sales growth after a difficult period. Market dynamics revealed a year of stabilizing decline, with U.S. beverage alcohol volumes falling 5% in 2025, according to preliminary IWSR data, though the decline appeared to be moderating. Premium spirit segments faced unprecedented pressure, with super premium plus categories falling 15% in 2025, while RTD cocktails emerged as the only bright spot, continuing to gain market share even as overall volumes declined. Consumer behavior shifted decisively toward value consciousness, while maintaining selective willingness to pay premium prices for authenticity and quality, creating what industry analysts characterized as unprecedented consumer duality. Mergers and acquisitions. The collapse of the Pernod Ricard and Brown-Forman merger talks dominated M&A headlines in April, representing what would have been the largest spirits industry consolidation in recent history. The proposed merger of equals failed after the companies could not agree on key terms, despite weeks of negotiations and the Brown family's reported preference for Pernod over competing bidder Sazerac. Sazerac had submitted a $15 billion all-cash offer, $32 per share, an 11% premium over market cap, for Brown-Forman, creating a complex three-way dynamic that ultimately resulted in no transaction. Completed transactions revealed continued appetite for strategic bolt-on acquisitions and portfolio optimization. E&J Gallo finalized its up to $775 million acquisition of Four Roses Bourbon from Kirin Holdings on April 2nd, returning the iconic bourbon brand to American family ownership for the first time in 83 years, and marking Gallo's significant expansion into premium spirits. Mark Anthony Brands, owner of White Claw, made its first acquisition under new CEO Phil Rossi by purchasing celebrity-backed Finnish Long Drink, expanding its RTD cocktail portfolio in a category showing continued growth. Stone Brewing changed hands for the second time in 4 years, as Sapporo USA sold the brand and 4 California locations to Firestone Walker Brewing and Duvel Mortgott USA, while retaining the Richmond facility, affecting approximately 300 jobs and marking a significant craft beer industry restructuring. The three-tier distribution system underwent major consolidation as RNDC revealed it is in talks with multiple parties to sell off the majority of the company, signing letters of intent for deals covering operations across various states. Columbia Distributing entered a non-binding letter of intent to acquire certain wine and spirits distribution rights in Oregon and Washington, as well as an asset arrangement in Alaska, significantly expanding its Pacific Northwest footprint. Smaller strategic acquisitions included HT Drink's purchase of global travel retail company Compass Supply Solutions, Constellation Brands' planned acquisition of Hopwater to expand its non-alcoholic portfolio, and LVMH's sale of its Chandon, India winery to Sula Vineyards. The month's M&A activity underscored an industry in transition, with companies divesting non-core assets, pursuing strategic adjacencies, and consolidating distribution networks to achieve scale efficiencies amid challenging market conditions. Financial developments. Financial distress accelerated across the craft brewing and small distillery sectors as multiple award-winning producers filed for bankruptcy protection or ceased operations. Ketos Brewing, a Salt Lake City craft brewery that won 2 gold medals at the Great American Beer Festival in October 2024, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy on April 24, with liabilities between $1 million and $10 million. Denton County Brewing Company and Penn Brewery, Pittsburgh's oldest craft brewery operating for 40 years, both filed Chapter 11 petitions in early April, while the Alton Distillery filed for its second Chapter 11 bankruptcy. These closures reflected broader challenges including rising costs, shifting consumer preferences, and compressed margins facing smaller independent producers. Major distributors and employers announced significant workforce reductions as consolidation pressures intensified. Eagle Rock Distributing Company shuttered its Colorado operations following an asset sale, resulting in layoffs affecting more than 500 employees starting June 2026. Breakthrough Beverage Group announced layoffs impacting an estimated 500 employees across multiple states as part of strategic restructuring amid shifting consumer habits and rising costs. These workforce reductions highlighted the human cost of industry consolidation and the challenges facing the 3-tier distribution system as it adapts to changing market dynamics. Constellation Brands reported mixed Q4 FY 2026 results, with beer sales up 1%, but wine and spirits revenues down 58%. Withdrew its FY 2028 guidance, citing macroeconomic uncertainties, yet saw shares surge 6% on better-than-expected earnings. Heineken reported solid Q1 2026 volume growth of 1.2% and net revenue growth of 2.8%, maintaining operating profit growth outlook of 2 to 6% for 2026 despite inflation and geopolitical impacts. United Spirits and Globus Spirits in India both reported strong earnings growth with significant year-over-year profit increases. Boston Beer faced headwinds with a 4% depletions decline in 2025 and revenue down 2.4%, while facing over $175 million in damages from a jury ruling against the company in a packaging supplier dispute with Ardagh. Market trends. Consumer behavior in 2026 exhibited what industry analysts characterized as unprecedented duality, with shoppers simultaneously seeking value while maintaining selective willingness to pay premium prices for authenticity and quality. According to WSWA's Year of Stabilizing Decline report, wine and spirits revenue showed slight growth despite volume declines of 2 to 6%, driven by consumers trading up selectively to higher-priced products. Kearney's 2026 beverage outlook emphasized this consumer polarization, noting that purchasing decisions now balance value consciousness with premium indulgence, health-first expectations, and experiential motivations. The moderation movement gained momentum as consumers prioritized wellness, with low ABV and no alcohol options growing rapidly. IWSR data revealed Super Premium Plus spirits fell 15% in 2025, the worst performance among major beverage alcohol categories, with only Irish whiskey and agave spirits showing growth in premium segments. This bifurcation forced producers to rethink portfolio strategies, emphasizing both value-oriented core offerings and ultra-premium limited releases while abandoning the middle ground. Ready-to-drink cocktails emerged as the industry's singular growth engine, with the category continuing to gain market share even as overall beverage alcohol volumes declined. The U.S. RTD canned cocktails market, valued at $7.9 billion in 2024, is projected to reach $15.8 billion by 2035 at a 6.5% CAGR, according to Market Research Future. Spirits-based RTDs perform particularly well, with IWSR data showing RTDs declining only 1% in 2025 versus 5% for total beverage alcohol. Bump Williams Consulting Analysis revealed consolidation in hard tea RTDs, with 10 vendors accounting for 97% of sales dollars. Innovation accelerated with premium positioning, cleaner formulations, bold flavor profiles, and sustainable packaging becoming key consumer expectations. Launches included Por Qué No, tequila and vodka-based cocktails from Beverage Management Group, celebrity-backed offerings from Dre and Snoop, and Pabst Blue Ribbon's collaboration with Grillo's Pickles on a limited edition pickle beer. The category's success stemmed from convenience, portion control, and the ability to deliver bar-quality cocktails for at-home and outdoor occasions. Craft beer faced continued headwinds, with production declining 5.1% in 2025, according to the Brewers Association's annual report, accelerating from the previous year's 3.9% decline. Despite volume losses, craft beer market share inched up from 13.2% to 13.3% as total beer sales fell 5.7%, suggesting craft held up better than mainstream segments. The number of operating breweries declined as closures outpaced openings for the first time in decades. However, industry observers noted increased awareness and appreciation for craft beer, a dedicated community of brewers and enthusiasts, and ongoing innovation in flavor variety and brewing techniques. Successful breweries focused on taproom experiences, direct-to-consumer channels, and community engagement rather than pure volume growth. Notable product releases included ultra-limited barrel-aged offerings like Firestone Walker's Bless This Mess Imperial Stout collaboration with Bottle Logic, Von Ebert Brewing's new West Coast IPA Reverse Math, and Widmer Brothers' 3 versions of barrel-aged bourbon. The craft segment appeared to be entering a new maturity phase, prioritizing quality, sustainability, and authentic connections over expansion. Market analysis. Global beverage alcohol markets experienced a year of structural adjustment in 2025-2026 as post-pandemic consumption patterns normalized and economic pressures reshaped consumer behavior. Preliminary IWSR figures showed U.S. beverage alcohol volumes fell 5% in 2025, with declines across beer, wine, and spirits categories, while RTDs declined only 1% and continued gaining market share. The global beverage alcohol market declined 2% in volume across 22 major markets tracked by IWSR, driven largely by declines in national spirits categories like baijiu in China. High inflation, geopolitical tensions, and shifting consumer preferences toward moderation accelerated these trends. The global beverage market overall was valued at approximately $2.75 trillion in 2025 and projected to reach $3.38 trillion by 2032 at a 4.5% CAGR, according to Markintel Advisors, with alcoholic beverages representing 61% of total market share and Asia-Pacific holding the largest regional share at 41.76% in 2026. The spirits segment faced particular challenges, with IWSR identifying spirits as the worst performing category in 2025 by value. American whiskey exports dropped 19% in 2025 amid tariff pressures and Canadian provincial boycotts of U.S. products, representing a $90 million decline. The global spirits market was valued at $664.37 billion in 2026 and forecast to reach $791.22 billion by 2031 at a 3.56% CAGR, according to Mordor Intelligence, significantly slower than historical growth rates. However, investment opportunities emerged from market dislocations, with some analysts suggesting American whiskey presented compelling value given overproduction, inventory buildup, and tariff-driven price compression. The whiskey investment market garnered attention with projections that the global whiskey market could reach $175 billion as post-COVID recovery gained traction, particularly for collectible and limited edition bottlings that continued to command strong auction prices. Regional market dynamics revealed divergent performance, with mature markets contracting while emerging markets showed resilience. U.S. wine market sales reached $115.33 billion in 2025, up 2.5% in value, despite a 2.4% volume decline, according to a BW 166 LLC report, with growth driven by premiumization and private label expansion in retail channels. Direct-to-consumer wine shipping volumes declined in 2025, according to Sovos Ship Compliant, reflecting shifting consumer behaviors and regulatory headwinds. Champagne sales fell 2% globally to 266 million bottles, driven largely by U.S. market weakness. China's beverage alcohol market faced pressures, with China Resources Beer expecting profits to fall at least 30% in 2025 due to Baijiu business impairment and softened consumer demand. UK alcohol duty receipts plateaued, with spirits experiencing the largest revenue drop, falling £94 million year over year, leading industry groups to call for tax policy reforms. Treasury Wine Estates announced major restructuring, including $300 million debt rescheduling and a shift to regional operations, while Casella Wines, Yellowtail owner, slipped into loss due to rising costs across export markets. The French wine sector entered crisis with 487 agricultural companies entering insolvency in Q1 2026, up 23% year over year, with Bordeaux at the epicenter. Product launches. Premium and ultra-premium spirits launches dominated new product introductions as producers sought to capture selective consumer willingness to pay for quality and authenticity despite broader market pressures. Jack Daniel's released its 14-year-old Tennessee whiskey, the oldest age statement whiskey from the brand in over 100 years, bottled at cask strength 61.3% ABV with sweet bakery spices, oak, and pie notes. The distillery also launched 5 barrel-proof batches of special release small batch rye, aged 8 to 10 years from different warehouses, with proof ranging from 140 to 148. Buffalo Trace partnered with Bonhams for an online auction showcasing the Eagle Rare 30-year-old, the oldest age-stated bourbon from the distillery, running from April 24 to May 8, 2026. A. Smith Bowman Distillery released Abraham Bowman's Special Release No. 26, an 11-year-old American rye whiskey bottled at 110 proof, highlighting experimentation with mash bill and aging. Four Roses expanded its acclaimed small batch select bourbon to 13 new markets across the U.S., while Maker's Mark released the second edition of Star Hill Farm Whiskey, featuring grain grown using regenerative agriculture certified by Regenified. Innovation in finished and specialty releases reflected producers' efforts to differentiate in crowded markets through unique cask treatments and collaborations. Virginia Distillery Co. launched Split Barrel Project No. 1, blending Kentucky straight bourbon from Bardstown Bourbon Company with American single malt in a 50-50 ratio. Garrison Brothers announced Lady Bird, a Texas straight bourbon infused with Texas wildflower honey and finished in French cognac XO casks, bottled at 114 proof with approximately 7,000 bottles available starting May 2026. Angel's Envy released new 2026 cask-strength bourbon finished in port wine barrels. Foursquare released Mark 29 Mandamus, the 29th installment in its exceptional cask-blended rums collection, featuring pot and column rums aged 16 years with unique port finishing. Oban launched a 15-year-old expression finished in port casks at 52.1% ABV. Law's Whiskey House announced the third annual release of 4-grain bourbon finished in a cognac foeder using a Solera process. Fourgate Whiskey Company released the Kelvin Collaboration 6, blending 3 9-year-old Kentucky bourbons aged in Portuguese Madeira and Florida Keys dark rum casks at 115.6 proof, with only 3,876 bottles available. Ready-to-drink innovations and alternative formats expanded rapidly to meet evolving consumer preferences for convenience and new occasions. Twofold launched a revolutionary THC spirits alternative on April 20th in a 750 milliliter spirit-style bottle designed to seamlessly integrate into modern drinking occasions. Cheech and Chong introduced the Judge's Stash, a high-potency hemp-derived Delta-9 THC beverage in a bottle that converts into a water pipe after use, offering 25 servings per bottle. Porque No launched premium tequila and vodka-based canned cocktails with bold flavors, low calories, no added sugar, and gluten-free formulations in mango margarita and Bloody Mary profiles. Bud Light and Post Malone unveiled Bud Light X Postico Minis in 7-ounce bottles and 7.5-ounce cans, celebrating 10 years of partnership. Solzy launched a sparkling espresso tonic in ready-to-drink 7.5-ounce cans, combining espresso with citrus-forward tonic and organic date sweetness. Celebrity involvement continued with Clase Azul launching Spirit of Champions, a $1,700 limited edition tequila celebrating the 2026 FIFA World Cup with handcrafted decanter design, and Dos Hombres expanding from mezcal into premium tequila. Craft beer releases emphasized barrel-aged and ultra-limited offerings, including Firestone Walker's Bless This Mess, 13.1% ABV barrel-aged Imperial Stout collaboration, and Paraboloid Imperial Stout aged in bourbon barrels at 15.3% ABV. Industry news. Infrastructure investments and experiential tourism initiatives reflected producers' strategic pivots toward direct consumer engagement and premium positioning. Heaven Hill opened its new $200 million Heaven Hill Springs Distillery in Bardstown, Kentucky, marking the company's symbolic return to whiskey production in its original hometown and representing a major bet on bourbon's long-term future, despite near-term oversupply. Robert Mondavi Winery in Napa Valley reopened after a 3-year, 215,000 square foot transformation, including new hospitality features and modernized winemaking facilities, coinciding with the winery's 60th anniversary. Buffalo Trace announced the May 11th grand opening of the John G. Carlisle Cafe, a permanent dining destination featuring Kentucky classics with Buffalo Trace-infused menu items. Ron Yates Winery opened an 8,800 square foot tasting room in High, Texas, with wood-fired pizza oven, live music space, and 7,000 square feet of covered outdoor seating. Colburn Distillery launched the first phase of an ambitious multi-million-pound whiskey and hospitality resort in Speyside, including a bistro slated for late autumn 2026, creating up to 15 jobs. These facility expansions underscored producers' recognition that experiential offerings, hospitality, and direct relationships increasingly drive margins in a challenging wholesale environment. Industry events and competitions highlighted the sector's focus on innovation, quality recognition, and community building. The 2026 Craft Brewers Conference and Brew Expo America took place in Philadelphia from April 20 through 22, featuring keynote speaker Will Guidara and the World Beer Cup Awards ceremony, gathering one of the largest assemblies of beverage alcohol producers to share insights and celebrate brewing excellence. The world-class 2026 bartending competition came to Gurgaon, India for its 12th edition, fostering creativity and excellence in mixology. The Tequila and Mezcal Masters 2026 competition awarded top products across the agave spirits category, despite some U.S. market slowdown, highlighting continued opportunities for quality producers. Taste of Rum 2026 in Puerto Rico brought together nearly 1,800 attendees to experience over 150 rum expressions with educational conferences and seminars. Leadership transitions, regulatory developments, and trade tensions shaped the industry's operating environment. Diageo appointed John O'Keefe as CEO for North America in a significant leadership change. Reyes Beverage Group CEO Tom Day detailed the company's accelerating expansion in wine and spirits, gaining major suppliers and planning R&DC acquisitions across multiple states. Virginia passed new liquor laws loosening strict regulations for restaurants and distilleries, changing the 45% food sales rule and doubling allowable spirit production for Virginia distilleries to ship directly. Washington state implemented expedited legislative changes affecting alcohol licenses, including snack bar and theater license modifications. U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer threatened action against Canada over provincial boycotts of American wine and spirits, which severely impacted U.S. bourbon makers' sales in key Canadian markets. Shanghai implemented strict alcohol warning label trials across online and offline sales channels. The Toasts Not Tariffs Coalition submitted comments to USTR's Section 301 investigation, calling for exemption of wine and distilled spirits from tariffs on structural excess capacity. These developments reflected the complex interplay of local regulatory evolution, international trade frictions, and industry advocacy shaping competitive dynamics. Cross-category insights. The beverage alcohol industry in April 2026 revealed a sector in fundamental transformation, with consolidation pressures, financial distress among smaller producers, and shifting consumer preferences creating simultaneous challenges and opportunities across all segments. The collapse of the Pernod Ricard and Brown-Forman merger, which would have combined approximately $30 billion in market value, illustrated how even large-scale consolidation efforts face execution challenges when family ownership structures, competing bids, and strategic misalignment intersect. Yet the failure of this mega merger did not slow broader M&A activity. Rather, it redirected deal flow toward mid-size bolt-on acquisitions like Gallo's $775 million Four Roses purchase, distribution network consolidation through RNDC's divestiture, and portfolio optimization moves such as Sapporo's Stone Brewing sale. This pattern suggests the industry is consolidating not through transformational mega mergers, but through methodical accumulation of strategic assets, distribution rights, and production capacity by well-capitalized players positioning for a post-shakeout environment. The financial distress cascading through craft breweries and small distilleries, with multiple bankruptcy filings, permanent closures, and over 1,000 layoffs announced in distribution alone, stands in stark contrast to large producers' capacity to invest in infrastructure, brand building, and geographic expansion. Anheuser-Busch's $600 million manufacturing investment, Heaven Hill's $200 million new distillery, and Robert Mondavi's 215,000 square foot renovation demonstrate that scale and financial strength increasingly determine survival and growth prospects. Meanwhile, craft producers face a perfect storm of compressed margins from rising input costs, declining foot traffic at tap rooms, intense competition for limited shelf space, and consumer trade-down pressure in economic uncertainty. The Brewers Association's report showing craft beer production down 5.1% in 2025, yet market share up slightly from 13.2% to 13.3%, reveals that craft is maintaining relative position only because total beer sales fell even faster. This dynamic suggests craft's future lies not in volume growth, but in premiumization, direct-to-consumer models, and experiential differentiation. Strategies requiring capital and operational sophistication that favor larger craft players and regional consolidators over the smallest independent producers. Product innovation and market trends converged around three dominant themes: RTD cocktails as the growth category absorbing displaced spirits demand, selective premiumization in ultra-aged and limited edition releases, and wellness-oriented positioning through low ABV, no alcohol, and functional beverage extensions. The RTD category's projected growth from $7.9 billion in 2024 to $15.8 billion by 2035 reflects its success in addressing multiple consumer priorities simultaneously: convenience, portion control, quality perception, and occasion flexibility. Major launches like Porque No, celebrity-backed brands from Mark Anthony, Dre, and Snoop, and even experimental offerings like Pabst Pickle Beer and THC Spirits alternatives from Twofold demonstrate producers' recognition that innovation must address lifestyle shifts, not just flavor preferences. Simultaneously, ultra-premium spirits launches, Jack Daniel's 14-year-old, Eagle Rare 30-year-old, Garrison Brothers $114 proof honey-finished bourbon, target collectors and connoisseurs willing to pay significant premiums for authenticity, scarcity, and craftsmanship. This bifurcated strategy acknowledges that middle market positioning is increasingly untenable. Success requires either convenience-driven value or experience-driven luxury with little viable middle ground. The 15% decline in super premium plus spirits in 2025 suggests even high-end segments face pressure when products lack compelling differentiation or authentic brand narratives that justify premium pricing. The international dimension of industry challenges: Canadian boycotts of American spirits causing 19% export declines, Shanghai's alcohol warning label implementation, EU subsidies for French winemakers to distill surplus into industrial ethanol, and US trade representative threats against Canada, reveals how geopolitical tensions, regulatory fragmentation, and nationalist economic policies increasingly complicate global supply chains and market access. The Toasts Not Tariffs Coalition's lobbying efforts reflect recognition that tariffs and trade barriers disproportionately harm beverage alcohol, given its high value, brand-dependent, and trade-intensive characteristics. Meanwhile, regional market divergence, with French wine insolvencies up 23%, UK spirits duty revenue falling £94 million, China Resources beer profits expected down 30%, yet Indian spirits companies reporting strong growth, suggests that emerging market resilience may partially offset mature market weakness. However, the overall 2% global volume decline across 22 major markets tracked by IWSR indicates these are structural rather than cyclical challenges, requiring fundamental business model adaptation rather than tactical adjustments. Thank you for joining us for the April 2026 briefing. For more information on the beverage alcohol industry, visit us at theboozcompass.com.